Weight loss is one of those goals that everyone wants. And it's really simple in principle. You need to take in less calories than you burn to lose weight. But the hard part is the execution of that long enough over time to actually see results. Which is why today I'm gonna show you 5 simple hacks that you can use yourself, or you can suggest to your nutrition clients to make this process even easier. And I'm saving the best for last, literally the one thing that changed everything for me and my weight loss journey and got me into this kind of shape, so hang out till the end of the video for that. But let's start with,
the first thing you need to do is eat for volume. If you want to lose weight, you want to lose fat, you're gonna need to make the most of your calories. And this means prioritizing less processed foods when possible, which means that you're gonna eat food choices that have more nutrients and not a lot of calories per gram. We're thinking about things like vegetables and fruit and lean sources of protein. If there's one correlation, one thing that influences your ability to stick to a diet and see it through and make the most of your calories and lose weight, it's going to be the calorie density of your food choices. If you're choosing these most of the time, foods that have a lot of weight, sometimes they have a lot of water, sometimes they have a lot of fiber, they have a lot of mass and not a lot of calories, they're gonna fill you up. A lot of times, it's not specifically the things that we're eating on a diet that help us be successful, but the weight of them. Because if they fill us up, we're gonna be less likely to be grabbing for foods that aren't as filling, that don't keep us on the straight and narrow. So the number one thing you need to do is eat for volume. One example is really big salads. Salads that are literally like a kilo in weight, a pound in weight, very large, are gonna supply, depending if you don't drench them in salad dressing and oil and that kind of stuff, gonna supply a lot of volume for not a lot of calories, and they're gonna keep you full. So you wanna prioritize these food choices at most meals, for sure at one big meal. That's where the BAS or the big ass salad came into play. I suggest that to all my clients, and it's something that I do as well. Let me show you a few more examples. Okay, so just a really simple breakdown of some very commonly consumed foods that are all, healthy in their own right. We have peanut butter, which for the most part people think is a protein source when it's really not. It just is a fat source that happens to have protein. But for a tablespoon of this, around 15 grams, it's gonna be around 100 calories and 9-10 grams of fat. If we compare that to foods that have a higher nutrient density and less calories, so they're low calorie density foods, like mixed greens, for example, there's 90 calories probably in this entire thing. For 3 cups, there's around 15 kcals, and we're looking at 312 grams overall. There's gonna be barely any calories in that, and it's something that provides nutrients, is gonna fill you up. Same thing with a protein source like egg whites. So for a cup of egg whites, we're thinking, it's gonna have 24 grams of protein and be entirely protein and fat-free. Like, it's gonna be just protein and water for the most part. So when you're choosing some of these foods more often, they're gonna take up more space, keep you more full, and make you more likely to stick to your diet because it's gonna be easier to stick to. It's gonna be easier to adhere to because you're not craving more things. Eat for volume is very helpful.
Okay, the second hack to make weight loss even easier is to stay busy. This is a completely underrated tip. When you start dieting, it's very common that you're gonna become more food focused. You're controlling your food, you're trying to make the most of it, you're going to be thinking about it more often. And one of the best ways to combat hunger and the food focus and emotional eating that goes along with dieting is just to flat out stay busy. There's a reason why people don't overeat or get off track when they have a bunch of things to do. And it's in periods where we don't have tons to do, like at night when we're sitting around on the couch, that boredom leads to overeating or going off plan. So one of the easiest things you can do that can also contribute to weight loss is to stay active, go for more walks, go to the gym, connect with people, relationships, and family to keep your mind off of the focus of eating. This seems simple, but a lot of times we're not going to overeat or eat because we're truly hungry. We're just gonna eat because we're focused on it and it's gonna be something to do. You can also take on more tasks or responsibilities at work to keep your mind off of food. And I've seen this time and time again with successful dieters, the clients and the people that have a bunch of things going on, they're going to be more successful. When you don't have tons of time to think about food, the entire process is going to be easier, so stay busy.
Okay, you're also going to need to pay attention to when you're eating this meal. So far we went over eating for volume and making the most of your food choices. We've also talked about staying busy, two important things, but you also want to eat in a way that allows you to stick to your diet, allows you to stick to your calorie and macronutrient targets or whatever you need to stay in a deficit. For some people, this is going to mean eating more frequently with smaller meals, like a bit more like snack-like, that allows them to keep on pace, where others are going to be better off eating larger meals less frequently and doing less snacking. What you want to play around with is finding a way to eat and spacing it out in a way that minimizes hunger. That's going to be the thing for most people that derails them, makes them go off, leads to low adherence, is getting too hungry. So if you can stick with your diet, that's going to be helpful. Some people are going to find delaying their first meal in the day and doing some fasting going to be helpful to stay, within a calorie deficit and make the most of their food choices, where others, they'll get hangry, they'll be low energy, that type of stuff, even after adjusting for it. So you gotta find what works for you. Some research has shown that loading your calories, eating larger amount of food for breakfast, getting ahead of your food earlier in the day helps you head into that evening period where you're more likely to binge, more likely to eat due to boredom. We talked about staying busy, that type of stuff. So eating earlier in the day and more calories could be helpful. You got to play around with this stuff, but you do need to be mindful of meal timing and how you space things out, making sure that you're never getting too hungry, because that's what's going to allow you to stick to a fat loss diet.
The next tip that is a complete game changer is to be flexible. For many people, the people that have long-term success, they need to view fat loss and weight loss as a marathon and not a sprint. And when you give yourself more time to do things, it allows you to be more flexible with your plan, which is going to lead to long-term success. But when you're way too rigid with your approach, you don't give yourself any opportunity to deviate or to go off plan, or you think it's completely black and white and you need to do certain things, you're much more likely to go off track and not finish the race. That's why for many of my clients, I give them something that we like to call flex days. So in a tracking-based approach, you're always tracking calories and macronutrient targets, protein, carbohydrates, and fat, to specific targets that are set up to help you lose weight. But there's always a time and a place to be completely on track and a time to be more flexible. So for my clients that have social events or outings and birthday parties or vacation, we set them up to be more flexible by giving them an opportunity not to track. And for many of them, this looks like partial tracking days, so tracking to reduce numbers throughout the day. That gives them a bit of a calorie buffer. They prioritize higher volume foods, more protein to keep full, and then take the night off from tracking. This gives you the best of both worlds, gives you kind of a break from the objective side of fat loss, while still being social and eating the foods you love. This is different from a cheat meal because we're getting away from those, that kind of black and white thinking around I'm either on or off. You essentially eat similar foods in similar amounts and just stay away from that objective side of fat loss. This gives you a mental break and a bit of a physical break as well. It helps my clients stay on track long term. But you also want to be flexible with food choices and not necessarily eat things that you think you need to all the time, of course. And we're going to talk about that hack in the next strategy.
Okay, and this is the last one. This is the one that changed absolutely everything for me. For the longest time, I was convinced that I couldn't eat certain foods and lose weight. My clients felt the same way. It was one of those things where foods were off limits. You couldn't eat them. I not only thought that, maybe the science behind it was hormonal driven, and if I ate certain carbs and that type of stuff, I would instantly store fat. That isn't the case. But I also just avoided them because I didn't think I could eat them. And from a practical standpoint, the only thing that did was make me want those certain foods more, the foods that I deemed were off limits. And one thing that has been super helpful for my success with both myself and my clients is working in some foods that we would deem quote unquote treat foods. I know at the beginning we talked about, prioritizing nutrient-dense foods and less processed foods. There's a time and a place for everything. And if you have something to look forward to and you can work them into your calories and into your targets without overdoing it, you're much more likely to stick to your diet. I'm gonna share one of the meals I eat almost every night that allows me to stick to foods
But for most of my clients, this means planning around things and working it in, or being more flexible with your choices so that you can eat ice cream every once in a while. You can look forward to ice cream. You can pick things that you enjoy eating that allow you to stick to your diet, because overall, that's gonna be the most important thing, is sticking to it long enough so that you can actually see meaningful results. And eating foods that you didn't think you could eat is a huge part of that. So nothing's off limits. There's no good or bad foods, just better or worse choices within the context of your goals. Let me show you one thing that I eat almost every night.
Okay, so this is one late night snack that's recently allowed me to lose about 8 kilos in 4 months relatively easily. It's actually, I actually didn't know this was, it's pudding. It says it's pie filling, but it is in fact pudding. But it's sugar-free, fat-free pistachio pudding. And I mix it with the Fairlife, or Dairyland now has this Joya protein, high protein, ultra filtered skim milk. So it's low fat as well. It's got tons of protein here. It's got 18 grams per serving, really low calorie. I guess I'm gonna show you that like that. Very low calorie. I mix it up with, there's a finished product. I kind of skimped out on the plating tonight, but it is what it is. The little oatmeal gold crumble as well. I'm gonna add in a bit more frozen blueberries tonight for the volume. It is going to be fantastic. It's one of those things that keeps me on track, has quite a bit of protein, and I work it in most nights. So it is fantastic for that. You don't need to avoid certain foods, you just need to be smart about them. And that is the #1 hack that's changed basically everything in terms of weight loss and fat loss for me, keeping me lean year round. Hope it helps.
And that's it, folks. That's 5 simple hacks that you can do to make weight loss easier for yourself or your nutrition clients. And as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'll have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. You still may want an idea of the best foods to suggest or eat when you're looking to lose weight. Here's a list of the best foods that are high protein that'll allow you to stay in a calorie deficit. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.